Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and today we are doing the final Carolina Panthers mock draft of the 2024 offseason so far. This would be the 7th-round mock draft, so this is what we think the Panthers should be doing or some of the potential possibilities when it comes to their time to pick for all of their selections. But before we get into that, in the NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner, and if you'd like to put a couple bucks down on these games, click the link down below. BetUS has a great promotion going on right now of 125% match for all first-time players for their first 3 deposits. Click that link down below and take full advantage of this promotion. While you're at it, like this video and also subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever the Tracy Take makes new videos. We have a lot of videos planned for the summer as well, leading up to the 2024 NFL season. And as well, we will be going live come draft night. So like, subscribe, help us reach 3,000 subscribers. And Ryan, let's pull this up here. So Panthers, obviously, they don't have a first-round pick. I think, to me, I thought about this more, Ryan, when we were going through this, and we did all 257 picks. I think this pick is more symbolic of the position that the Panthers, I think, will go here. Whether or not, if you like Xavier Worthy, I think his speed, I think, would be very interesting with the combination of now Deontay Johnson, and then you do throw in Adam Thielen as well, who's still a veteran receiver. I'm pretty sure he was still a 1,000-yard receiver last year, if I'm not mistaken. Jonathan Mingo is still a project that could develop well. So I think he provides that speed that's a little bit different than what they have now currently. But I also think, too, if you don't like this pick, I totally get it. I just think more of this will be receivers that will be – I think there's a receiver spot here.
Yeah, and so for me, I still actually really like this pick. Xavier Worthy is just a natural separator as a receiver. His speed, he was a second-round pick before he ran a 4.21 40 at the combine. And to me, he has like some issues with drops, but that's really the biggest flaw in his game. And to me, a lot of his drops are focus drops. And so I think you throw him into this offense. Deontay Johnson does primarily play on the outside. He wins down the field. Adam Thielen is kind of your route running technician. Jonathan Mingo, actually, ironically, the biggest wide receiver of all, does play more over the middle and kind of plays more in that A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel style role. And then you have Xavier Worthy, who is, to me, the safety valve for Bryce Young. So you have 4 really solid receivers in that room, 2 of which are going to be on rookie deals. And then you have your rookie quarterback. You invested in the offensive line in free agency. So, I really think I still really like this pick. Now, again, maybe do they go with a different receiver here? Yeah. But I think 33 has to be a receiver.
Yeah, they do have the 39th pick, which we'll get to in a second here. So they do have some luxury if they want to go get an offensive lineman that they like or go get defensive player to potentially replace Brian Burns. I could go and see them doing that. But it's just I'm glad that Bryce Young was getting the constructive criticism, but also the respect, too, of it's like, look, you're not having a good season. But in your defense, like when you go look at the all-22 film, it's like, nobody's open.
No,
there's no separation whatsoever.
Nobody's open. They weren't really blocking for him all that well.
Yeah, they couldn't run the ball. Defense wasn't that good. Other than that, Panthers were a pretty good football team last year. So, and to your point, it kind of go against mine though. One of their biggest things last year was they couldn't get separation. Go and get the fastest guy from this year's combine and tell him like, hey, you're doing 50-yard sprints all game. And there's more to Worthy's game than
he's also not. He is also the quickest guy in this class. He really does kind of remind me of like a taller version of Tank Dell. So,
and that's where we want to include some context as well. And I do think Ladd McConkey, I think, could be that separated, but that more reliable. Like I think he looks more like Tank Dell. Now he was taking the pick before. Yes, I think that would have been the ideal pick. I think for the Panthers in my book. Xavier Worthy absolutely proved me wrong. And so I will say, too, if we go on to the next pick as well, 39, this is where we actually have them dressing the offensive line, getting Zach Frazier. They need help on the offensive line just in general. They've already made a lot of big splashes in that department as well with signing guys like Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis as well, offensive guards. So getting a center specific, Zach Frazier as well from West Virginia, I think this would be a great pick. But if they'd also want to go receiver here as well, Xavier Leggett was taking a couple picks later. Ricky Pearsall, Roman Wilson were also available as well. And so those are just some of the other kind of receiving options here. But here, Ryan, I think Zach Frazier, would be a phenomenal pick.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that as well. If you look, they don't really have a lot of money tied up with Austin Corbett, who is their starting center on the depth chart right now.
Yeah.
And so I think you go get Zach Frazier. To me, especially with a young quarterback, going and solidifying this offensive line is going to be very, very important. And I think Zach Frazier does that for you here at pick 39. If he doesn't win out the job, I think that's fine. He can play guard as well, but you really are hoping that he wins out this center position job here.
Yeah,
So
if they're taking him here in the second round, they're like projecting him to. I
yeah,
think it's his job to lose.
yeah,
If
yeah,
they take him here, so
yeah,
let's move on to the third round pick. They're picking at 65 overall here. Have them addressing the secondary. Kyrie Jackson. I know they got Dane Jackson and Jordan Fuller and in free agency as well, but still, I think just keep developing that secondary. I know they're moving on from Brian Burns. One of the things we felt too is kind of after even Jonah Ellis, I'd have to go back and look exactly at this. I'll confirm it here, but really after Jonah Ellis, Adisa Isaac was taken at 58th overall, so a little bit before that. There is a big drop off in edge rusher talent as well, and so with where their first two picks are and the way that we kind of constructed the draft, they kind of missed out on that second tier of edge rushers, and so they'll have to wait until day three
yeah.
to address the edge rusher spot to replace Brian Burns. But they get a guy like Kyrie Jackson here, a guy out of Oregon, had a great career there. I think he can come in and at minimum be good depth piece and provide some good consistent minutes.
Yeah, yeah, and he's a really unique guy because he's 6'4", 195 pounds, really good athlete for that size as well, and was very competitive up in the Pac-12 last year
Yeah,
with some really solid receivers. So you
and
go,
honestly
go
too. Oops, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say if you go look at him when they played Washington, he actually matched up really well with those trio of receivers
Well,
up
and
there.
also too with his size, you're going up against Drake London and Mike Evans twice a year, so you're going to need some
Yeah.
big corners as well. And those are some pretty big dudes. So
Yeah, and they have J.C. Horn, and you mentioned getting Dane Jackson from Buffalo, and so
yeah,
like I just think he was more best player available on the board, and I think he probably is the other outside starting cornerback for them, other than J.C. Horn. So
yeah, yeah.
uh, let's move on though to I believe their day 3 picks here, going and getting Blake Corum here at the top, just a really solid running back. He's going to do everything really well. He just kind of fell in this draft. There just weren't a lot of teams in the third round that were really looking for running backs, and when they were, we preferred other guys. And I think you look at the depth chart here, they have Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, and then those are really the only two guys. So I think at best he's the lead back in a 3-back rotation. But the Miles Sanders experiment didn't really work out. Chuba Hubbard before the Christian McCaffrey trade was mostly a like rotational piece.
Honestly, Chuba Hubbard hasn't been doing horrible. He's been taking
Yeah,
full advantage of his opportunity, but there's
yeah,
just still you're just trying to find ways to improve
yeah,
that position overall. And wouldn't be surprised if Miles Sanders is not on the team come 2025.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I think on day 3, I think they address some other needs. Address safety. I think the one issue with this draft and kind of going back on, but not that I disagree with a lot of the picks. Obviously, but everybody knows my opinion. Obviously, on the Xavier Worthy pick, but they traded Brian Burns for a reason, like one of their best players from last year. They don't address the edge rusher spot until the
yeah,
7th round. So that's an area, but at the same time, though, too, there is that big drop off.
yeah.
Isaac went 58, Marshawn Nealon went 60, all before them, and then the next guy that we honestly on our board that maybe was worth taking was Austin Booker, but that wasn't until late round 3. No, he got taken 108 by the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Gabriel Murphy was taken 95. So Brandon Dorlus was 89. So late round 3 edge rusher is like that next
And
wave.
Brandon Dorlus is a tweener, not the edge rusher that they would want. So
Yeah.
I like Zion. I don't want to say his last name, but from Washington, he played on the
Zion
opposite side.
Tupuola.
Tupu, I don't know. But he played opposite of Braylon Trice. And to me, like after, again, like you said, after that 50th pick, there's a lot of tweeners at the edge rusher position, and I just don't think that that's what the Panthers would be interested in.
Yeah.
So all in all, I think the Panthers got some really good players. They filled a lot of needs, and our primary focus was just building up this offense around Bryce Young, so that way they don't really hinder his development. Because I think you look at another Alabama quarterback, like Mac Jones, where the Patriots they built up around him a little bit in his rookie season, but then kind of refused to address some key spots as his career progressed. And then at the middle of his third year, he basically was just so freaked out in the pocket that he was no longer serviceable and was benched for Bailey Zappi. And I don't want that to happen to Bryce Young. I think the Panthers need to put a big emphasis on adding weapons and protecting Bryce Young. And so I think that's what ends up happening here in this draft. So,
and changing ownership, that probably would be a good option as well.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up this Carolina Panthers 7-round mock draft here. Please let us know down in the comments your thoughts. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? Be sure to like and subscribe. And on that, we will see you guys